Welcome to the Daily Power Parsha. This is Friday, the last day of July, the year 2020. Can you believe it? We have 7 months in of the year in the books, and now it's time to get rocking and rolling. Almost with August, which is the beginning of our new academic year. And by the way, breaking announcement, I don't believe anyone here knows about it, because how could you unless you're a mind reader and or hacking into my computer? But we are pretty much set to release a brand new website. I know many of you have had, anyway, it's not about you, it's about me. I've had challenges with my website for a few years now. It used to be decent, but it's been challenging. So I'm very excited to roll out a new website that will hopefully be easy to navigate and easy to check out and easy to listen and watch the classes right there on the website without having to go to other websites. Everything will be there, and please God, look for that launch, hopefully maybe even early next week. So that is the plan. It is I'm not saying this that we're working on a website. I've been working on a website for a while. I'm making this announcement to you, select group of friends who are with me to study Torah, to let you know that it's about to launch. As soon as the domain name gets transferred over to the new website, we're basically live. So stay tuned for more fun. Yes, sorry. Sandrine, go ahead.
Friends who use the website a lot.
Say it again?
Friends
yes.
who use the website a lot.
Yes. We may have our top website users right here in this group. So it's great to make that announcement and to have that opportunity to share that good news. Okay, here
I'm sorry, this is Stephanie.
Hey.
So does that mean that there won't be Zoom anymore? This will all come from the website?
Well, Zoom doesn't play nice, super nice. I hope Zoom's not listening. Zoom doesn't play nice with website integration with the platform that we're using. I've heard that with some platforms it works if you know how to code it right. With the platform that we're using, which is I'm very excited about the platform that we're using. Zoom is not 100% functional inside of that framework. Therefore, we're going to keep Zoom as a separate piece.
Okay.
It is what it is. What are you going to do? Listen, if we built a custom site, and built our own proprietary web streaming service, that would be one thing. But we're not there yet. But maybe we'll get there. And then who needs Zoom anyway? We'll just go live. You go into the website, you log in, you log on, you're good to go. But as long as we're still using Zoom, it's going to be an external program. Okay. But anyway, that's the opening announcement. But let's get to some Torah study. This is our Daily Power Parsha. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can jump right in. Okay, the Et Hanan, 2 days ago, which would have been Wednesday, we spoke about the fourth reading and the 10 Commandments. Yesterday, we didn't meet because of Tisha B'Av. Today, so we have fifth reading, sixth reading, and seventh reading. We have 3 readings to cover today. My goal is at least the first 2, number 5 and number 6. Number 7, maybe we'll get to, maybe we won't. I have a lot to share, so buckle up. This is going to be some rapid-fire Torah. This is the aftermath of, Moses is still speaking to the people shortly before his passing, and he just, in reading number 4, he just recalled and reiterated the 10 Commandments they episode at Sinai. In reading number 5, Moses summarizes or kind of talks about the aftermath of the experience at Sinai. And I'm going to start reading. I'm not going to read all the verses because that would take up our time just reading the verses. But I want to get started so that you feel the energy of the words of Moses that we're studying right now. This is Moses speaking to the people. The Lord spoke these words to your entire assembly at the mountain, out of the midst of the fire, the cloud, and the opaque darkness, with a great voice. By the way, opaque darkness, great name for a band. And the opaque darkness with a great voice, which did not cease. And he inscribed them, the 10 Commandments, on 2 stone tablets and gave them to me. This is before, I have to clarify, this is before Steve Jobs and Apple and tablets made of other materials. These were the original iteration of the tablets, the ones that didn't have a digital interface, but whatever. If you try to swipe on that screen, it would be a little bit little gritty. Okay, all of that was a joke, by the way, but I feel you all laughing inside. It's okay. And it was when you heard the voice from the midst of the darkness and the mountain was burning with fire that you approached me, all the heads of your tribes and your elders. Moses recalls 40 years later the panic that ensued amongst the people at Mount Sinai. And you said, behold, the Lord our God has shown us his glory and his greatness, and we heard his voice from the midst of the fire. We saw this day that God speaks with man, yet man remains alive. So now why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we continue to hear the voice of the Lord our God anymore, we will die. They were afraid to hear more. You get this? The people, Moses says, at the experience of Sinai, y'all came to me and said, it's getting a little hectic. It's getting too big to handle. In fact, the Talmud fills in the information. Talmud says that with each and every one of the 10 commandments that God spoke, the souls of the people flew out of their bodies. They had such a big experience that they had, we spoke about this a number of times, Kolot HaNefesh. Remember about Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron who died when they approached the holy space because they had too big of a high? Well, that's exactly what the people were having at Sinai. They were hearing God's voice, hearing it straight from the source with a capital S, and it was too big for them. So they went to Moses and said, do us a favor. 10 is enough. Can you please hear it from God and deliver it back to us for the rest of the commandments? And that's indeed what happened. For who is there of all flesh who heard the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire as we have and lived? In other words, they were saying, this is a rhetorical question. This is what the people said to Moses, in Moses' own words. He's recounting and recalling what happened. Y'all said to me that it's not possible for a human being of flesh to hear God and live. So they said to me, essentially, to Moses, you approach Moses. Moses, you approach God and hear all the Lord our God will say, and then you speak to us all that the Lord our God will speak to you, and we will hear and do. This becomes the way it works from then on. From the 10 commandments at Sinai, post-Sinai, so God is at Sinai, but after Sinai, that's only 10 commandments, after Sinai, what happens is Moses goes up the mountain, hears it from God, delivers it back to the people. Where does that formula come from? It comes at the behest, at the request of the people. What I'm saying makes sense? Yes? Okay, so this is, again, Moses just explaining the narrative. They were there. Remember, the generation of the Exodus died out, but these were their children. Okay, but the children, many of them were there at Sinai, so it's not like they had no clue, or they're just anyone under 20 by the sin of the golden calf didn't die. So they could have been 18 years old with a very clear memory, and they would have now been 58 with a very clear memory of what happened 40 years prior. And so Moses is not telling them anything new, but just reminding them of what happened at Sinai. Let's continue. So God said to me, Moses says, go say to them, to the people, return to your tents. Okay, if you don't, fine, go back to your tents. But as for you, Moses, God said, stand here with me, and I will speak to you all the commandments, statutes, ordinances, which you will then teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess. Keep them to perform them as the Lord your God has commanded. Sorry. That's it. That's the recollection. And that's where it ends. Verse 29 is Moses saying, now directing his attention and speaking directly to the people in front of him shortly before his passing. And he therefore says, having recalled the experience at Sinai, the 10 commandments, having recalled the aftermath of the 10 commandments and your request for me to hear and then to report to you, now I turn to you and beg you, keep the mitzvot, to perform them as the Lord your God has commanded you. Do not turn aside either to the right or to the left. Moses again beseeches the people, please stay on the straight and narrow. Please stay on the path that I have taught you based on what God taught me. In all the way which the Lord your God has commanded you, you shall go, in order that you may live, and that it may be well with you, and so that you may prolong your days in the land you will possess. So Moses, again, I use the word beseeching and begging because I don't know what else to call it. I don't even know the number of times that Moses says essentially the same thing. God has given you the commandments. This will keep you safe and sound and secure in your new land and give you a happy life. Please don't mess it up. It's, if I say dozens of times, 50 times, 100 times, I don't know. Someone has to go through the book of Deuteronomy and just, hit a one of those, counter, number counters. You hit a little button and it triggers a 1, a 2, a 3. Again and again and again and again and again, Moses says, please keep the commandments. Please don't lose the faith. Okay, next, Deuteronomy 6. I know it's shocking, but here we have the theme once again. This is the commandment, the statutes, and the ordinances that the Lord your God commanded to teach you to perform in the land into which you are about to pass to possess it. In order that you fear the Lord your God, to keep all statutes and commandments. Okay. In order that your days may be lengthened. We just kind of said that before. And you shall therefore hearken, O Israel, and be sure to perform so that it will be good for you. In other words, the clear indication is that Torah and mitzvot, it's not good for God only. It's not like, well, God wants it. It's literally good for us. Right? Even if we're approaching this from our animal soul, which is our selfish self, right? The body perspective, it's still a good deal. It's a great deal for the soul. It's a great deal for the body. It's a win-win. Okay, and so that you may increase exceedingly, just as the Lord your God, the God of your father, spoke to you. Basically, that you should enjoy with this the land flowing with milk and honey, as we know is a reference to the land of Israel. Okay, 6th reading. That's all reading number 5. Now, get this. Super cool. This reading begins with the most famous, probably the most famous verse of the Torah. Well, okay, one of the most famous. It's probably the top 5. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, the Shema. Right? We can sing it together. Shem, with the Hebrew, with God's name. Why not? It's like a verse and a prayer. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. That's it. So this is, where does it come from? Right? Deuteronomy 6:4, right here. It just shows up on our screens just like that. Today's reading for Friday, right? Deuteronomy chapter 6 for day 6. Here we go. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. In case you're wondering who wrote it, there you go. It's right here. And of course, this is Moses speaking to the Jewish people. And he's saying, hear, O Israel, listen up. And we had a class Wednesday night. We spoke about the difference between her and derher, 2 words in Yiddish. Either hear or more than hear, be permeated with the message. And the intention here of Moses is, don't just know it. Don't just hear it. Yeah, I know it. No. Live with it. It should move you. It should move through you. And of course, the next part, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your means. Now, let me explain this, because I'm going to cite some commentaries here. So what does it mean with all your heart? I mean, what is all your heart doing? Half a heart. So it means, the way the commentators explain it, it's b'shnei yitzarecha, which is with both of your yetzers, with both of your desires, both your good and your evil inclination, which is kind of weird. It's like, I can love the Lord, I can love God with my yetzer tov, with my good inclination, but my evil inclination, well, like I said before, there is a way even to get the body, which is selfish by nature, on board with God, by saying that Torah, mitzvot, what God wants, is not only good on an ideal level, like on an idealistic level, it's also good on a practical level. Because who do you think is behind all the good stuff anyway? It's not only like you get a spiritual stuff, it's also on a practical level. So number 1, 3 types of love. Love God with all your heart means both sides, the selfless and even the selfish part, also can love God. That's number 1. That's meditation number 1. Second meditation is with all your soul, which our commentators explain, even if it comes to the point of self-sacrifice, even if afilu notos nafshecha, even if someone takes your soul because of your beliefs, don't give up your beliefs. Remain in love, remain in that state of commitment and love toward God. And this is why in the final moments of, I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of Jews, oh, for sure millions, actually in the Holocaust, millions of Jews, the final words on their lips before their lives were taken for the only reason of being a Jew, right? They were killed for their faith, for their Judaism. The final words on their lips were these verses, Shema Yisrael, these verses. And it talks about the mitzvah. It's not something we look for, but the idea of being committed to the very end, even if somebody is dead, even if someone is set, God forbid, on taking one's life because of their faith, not to give up their faith. And the last level of love, so one love is even from the more selfish part of self. Another form of love is even, it says, with all your means, and that comes from the commentators, including Rashi, who explains it means with all your money. And it's interesting. If I love God to the point that I'm ready to give up my life, you have to tell me now about the money? The answer is yes, because for some people, money is even more dear than life itself. Therefore, it's one thing to say, even if it takes your life, but there's another, even if it takes your money. What that means is we should realize that to lead a Jewish life takes some resources. Matzah, you got to buy matzah on Passover, apples and honey, whatever. Okay, things we should realize that our resources are there as part of the service of God and not only for self-oriented purposes. But it's interesting because the commentators explain that a person could value, like I said before, their possessions or their money even more than their life. The simple example that's brought in Hasidic philosophy and Hasidic teachings is you have people that do work to earn money that's very dangerous to their life. People will engage in life-risking vocations to earn money. So we see that sometimes money can be put as a priority even over health and well-being. I still remember the podcast that it was a radio show. There's a sports broadcaster. His name is Dan Patrick. So he has a morning radio show. I don't know what's happening nowadays. I don't know what they're talking about. At least, well, now I guess there's baseball again. But as of a month ago, I'm not sure what conversations were, and I haven't been paying attention. But I remember hearing an interview that he had with a former football player who was retired, and the context of the conversation was about the concussions and the, I think it's called CTE, the brain damage essentially that's been linked to repeated hits of the head that happen in football and maybe some other sports as well. But the context was football. And he asked the question of the person who he was interviewing, I forget which athlete it was, which former player it was, and he said, based on everything that you know now, and based on all of the side effects that you have now, all the health issues that you have now, knowing all of this, would you do it again? That's a really good question. That's a really good question. You know what his answer was? Yes. I don't believe that everyone would give that answer. I think some people would say, I would not have done it. But this was his answer. And I remember I was shocked by the answer. But not really shocked, but also shocked. Shocked but not shocked. Like I could totally see somebody answering that, but at the same time, it hit me hard. It's like, wow. And it's not in a judgmental way, but I could see that. You could see how he would not want to give up the money and the fame that he got, and the definition of what his life, football player or former football player, that's who he is, and not ready to give that up. But again, I'm just using that as an example where somebody would, even knowing, might intentionally put their life at risk for money. So that's why the third level of love, which is its ascending order, one is with both sides of your being. The one is even to the point of giving up your life, and then even with your resources, that's even a higher level of love. Okay. How do we know when somebody really loves? It's when it hits, when they're ready to part with resources for it. Okay. Let's continue within the Shema. This is the opening paragraph. Well, what we know as the Shema prayer, the opening paragraph of which is, again, right here in Deuteronomy 6. And these words, which refers to essentially the Torah, which I command you this day, it's not only the specific daily message, but the Torah that we're talking about today, Moses says, shall be upon your heart. Okay, Take a look at this. And you shall, education. So we have in the Shema, the opening paragraph of Shema, which this is, look how many mitzvot we have. Well, we talked about monotheism, fine. And love, okay. But look from right here, the next few verses. You shall teach them to your sons, well, your children. So, number one, education. And then, don't just educate your kids, but also you speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk on the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. So it's not, you can't just teach your kids, you also have to learn Torah, right? You can't just be like, oh yeah, you guys should do this, because that's transparent. You have to, that has to permeate you wherever you are. Whether you're in your home, whether you're on the road, whether it's at night, whether it's in the morning, Torah should always be the conversation. And that will influence the kids more than what you tell them to do. Next, the mitzvah of tefillin. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for ornaments between your eyes. That refers to the boxes that we wear on the arm and on the head. Tefillin. Phylacteries. Where are phylacteries made? I know you're wondering. A phylactery factory. Next, and that's a joke. Well, or not. And you shall inscribe them, mezuzah, 9, and you shall inscribe them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. Well, not on the doorpost, but on the scroll that's then affixed to your doorpost. That's the mitzvah mezuzah. Okay, that's the end of the opening paragraph of the Shema, but of course the Torah keeps on rolling because that's how it, or I should say scrolling, because that's how it rolls. That's how it scrolls. And it will be, new theme. So Moses says, take a look at this. It will be when the Lord your God brings you to the land, etc., okay, to give you, okay, he's basically saying, when you get to the land of Israel, you're going to encounter great and good cities that you did not build, and houses full of all good things that you did not fill. The implication being that some of the people that were living there are going to move out, and you're going to take over, right? So, the great, you didn't build these cities, you didn't build these houses, hewn cisterns that you did not hew. By the way, I don't even know if I've hewn cisterns. I mean, how would I know that? I'm kidding. If I would know what a hewing a cistern would be, I would know. So, who knows? I'm not sure if I have or have not. Probably have not. Vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant. So, the point is, you're going to go into Israel, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be ready to go. You're walking into a ready-made place, fully furnished, right? It's like you can buy a home or rent a place that has no furniture, or the one that's fully furnished. I'm giving you the full... Not I. Moses says, God is giving you the fully furnished version. But what's going to happen? You'll eat and be satisfied. And you know the nature of things. The nature of things is when things are good, you forget where it's coming from. It's like, when it's difficult, then you pray, because then you need. But when it's good, you take it for granted. So he says, therefore, beware, Moses, the ever-keen leader, beware lest you forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Right? Don't forget God. God took you out of the terrible place to bring you to this wonderful, wonderful land that you are about to enter. You shall fear the Lord your God, worship him and swear by his name. Do not go after other gods. Again, a very recurring theme in Deuteronomy. No idolatry. It didn't work, by the way. All of these warnings, we still went off the rails. Go figure. Jews are a stubborn people. Anyway, for better or for worse, you shall fear do not go after other gods, the gods of other people who are around you. For the Lord your God is a zealous God among you, lest the wrath of the Lord your God be kindled against you and destroy you off the face of the earth. God forbid. You shall not test the Lord as you tested him in Massa. That's when the Jews complained about water and said, oh, is God with us? And God's like, are you kidding me? Anyway, diligently keep the commandments. Again, I mean, this is like the theme. Keep the commandments of the Lord your God and his testimonies, his statutes, which he has commanded you. Oh, I love this verse. 18. And you shall do what is proper and good in the eyes of the Lord. Understood by our sages, out of context, this is a general commandment to always be a mensch. And in the context of disputes, when two people have a conflict, let's say a business conflict, this is the mitzvah. This is even in Rashi. Rashi right here on the verse says it's a mitzvah to create compromise. V'asisa hayashar v'hatov, do what is proper and good, means, according to our sages, to always seek a compromise. Right? You have a winner and a loser. It's better to have a compromise where everyone feels good when there's a conflict, to resolve it in a way that everybody's happy. That is the ideal way. So this is the encouragement for all of us and for judges and whatever to come to a place where it's good and it's proper. Win-wins, as we like to say. In order that it may be well with you, etc. Okay. All right. Verse 20. You might know this from the Haggadah. This verse is lifted for the wise son. You know there are four children. There's the wise, the wicked, the simple, and the one who doesn't know how to ask. Well, this is the wise son's question. Comes from right here. If your son asks you in time, in other words, at a future time, your child asks, says, what are the testimonies, the statutes, the ordinances which the Lord our God has commanded you? Yeah, what is this deal? So you should say to your son, Avodim hayinu. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and the Lord took us out of Egypt with a strong hand. Boom! You could write your Haggadah from these verses, which it is. Okay, so that's where this comes from. And then the Lord gave signs and wonders upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and he brought us out of there in order that he might bring us and give us the land which he swore to our fathers. And, in case you haven't noticed yet, the Lord commanded us to perform all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God, for our good, once again, all the days, to keep us alive as of this day. And it will be for our merit. Again, themes. It's good for us that we keep to observe all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he commanded us. It's kind of beautiful. It's kind of beautiful, kind of consistent. Moses is not like, he's not, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not, losing his focus or dropping the theme. He's very, very much focused on the objective. His greatest fear is that he'll pass away, the Jews will go into the land, and the next thing you know, done. Who needs God? Who needs Judaism? Let's party. Israel block party. Okay. Do we have time? How long is this? All right. Let me scan this to see if there's anything that I want to mention. The Lord will deliver them to you when you get into the land of Israel, the nations. Demolish their altars. Smash their monuments. Cut down their Asherim trees. That was a tree. The Asherim tree, the Asherah, was a tree of idolatry. They would worship a tree. Anyway, it was a thing. For you are a holy people, a treasured people. Oh, this is good. Okay, here we go. Not because, it's all good, but okay, stuff that's catching my eye. Not because you are more numerous than any people did the Lord delight in you and choose you, for you are the least of all peoples. How did Moses know? How did the Torah know 3,300 years ago that the numbers would stay the same? This is before Christianity, before Islam. Judaism could have gone viral. Look at these other, later religions, and how many billions of people are followers of Islam or Christianity? Billions. And how many Jews are there? I'm laughing. I'm not really laughing. I don't know what I'm doing. It's how many Jews are there? 15 million? 16 million? Generous number, 16 million across the world. How did the Torah know? How did Moses know? That's what he says. You're the least of all the peoples. And there was the fewest, not the least, the fewest. But that's not why God chose you. It's not a numbers game. But because of the Lord's love for you, because he keeps his oath that he swore to your forefathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Lord took you out with a strong hand and redeemed you from the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. So God's committed with you, and therefore, to summarize it, verse 11, you shall therefore observe the commandments, the statutes, the ordinances, which I command you this day to do. All right, just to wrap up this verse that I like, the message here is that we should never feel inferior because we're in the minority, if you look at numbers. It's like, if at any point in time Jews would have said, well, we're in the minority, might as well follow the majority, Judaism ends right there. If at any point in time we said, well, let's just follow the crowd, then it's done. We're only here today. We're literally, it's not an exaggeration or anything. There's no hyperbole here. We are literally only here today because in every generation there were individuals, and many individuals, who said, it doesn't matter what everyone else says. This is what we say. This is Judaism. And it's because of that fierce commitment and not getting mispal, that's a Hebrew, not getting intimidated by the numbers of others, but fierce dedication to who we are, that we're here today. So let's maintain that pride. It's not a numbers game. What's the phrase? What's popular is not always right, and what's right is not always popular. It's the way it is. If
quality, not quantity.
Yeah, quality, not quantity. Exactly. So let's not get too impressed or too intimidated by what's out there. Let's stand up for what we know is right, what we know is our path. It doesn't have to be someone else's path, but it's our path, and we should be proud. As I hover over random parts of that website, we should be proud to be who we are. So that's the message that we can take into this Shabbat. The Shabbat that follows the 9th of Av is called Shabbat Nachamu, which is the Shabbat of comfort. It's following the destruction, following the sadness. We know that God comforts us. So let's all ask that God comfort us with the ultimate of comfort, with the coming of Mashiach and the end of all suffering and the dawn of a new era, a better world. May it be speedily in our days, and let us say, Amen. Thank you very much for joining me today for the Daily Power Parsha. I look forward to seeing you next week as we pick it up Monday noon, same bat time, same bat channel. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please stay healthy and stay safe, and looking forward to seeing you very soon. All right. See you all. Take care.
Take care.